Let's talk about the beard command of Leviticus 19:27. This is the command in the Torah given to the general public regarding beards. And I want to address the specific wordings in that verse, and I also want to address the notion that this is in reference to mourning for the dead. And we'll look at that issue as we continue on. First, let's look at the actual wording of the passage and what that means. So let's go into Leviticus 19:27 through 28. You shall not cause to encompass edge of your head, and you shall not cause to ruin edge of your beard. And cutting up to vitality you shall not give in your flesh, and writing of tattooing you shall not give in you. I am Yahuwah. So first let's look at the wording of the beard command. You shall not cause to ruin edge of your beard. So we have this cause to ruin, and we have this edge of your beard. Cause to ruin is thashkith. It comes from shachath, which means to ruin, to corrupt, or otherwise to destroy. This can describe a figurative or a moral destruction or corruption, and it can also describe a physical destruction. So we see it in reference to the plague of the flies, the swarm. It says that it corrupted the land. And we also see it in reference to Noah and the flood. It says that the land was corrupted prior to the flood, and this is why the flood was taking place, that the people had corrupted. And it says that the flood itself caused the land to be ruined. It caused corruption of the land. So the flood physically destroyed the land, and that is referred to using the same word. And we also see it in reference to the Passover and the plague of the firstborn. Whenever they are putting the blood on the houses, it says the blood prevents the one causing to ruin to enter. So this is a similar wording to what we see in this passage, talking about causing to ruin the edge of your beard. And also this edge, we need to look at it. Edge in this case is the Hebrew word pa'ath. Literally it refers to the mouth, but frequently it is used to refer to an edge, a border, the outside perimeter of something, or a side. So we see this in reference to the tabernacle. The outside perimeter of the tabernacle courtyard is described using this word. It uses it for the south side, the west side, etc. And we also see it in reference to the edges of the field and in reference to the edge of one's face, which is a passage I want us to look at. This is not the exact same wording that we see in Leviticus 19:27, but I think it's kind of interesting because we have edge being used in reference to someone's body. And if from edge of his faces his head shall be polished, it is bald forehead, he is clean. So this verse is talking about diagnosing the leper or the scourge, and it's kind of a funny wording, but we have this from edge of his faces. Faces is always plural, so we would probably just say face in English. But apparently we have this reference to the edge of his face, seemingly the hairline area. And it says that if from that his head is polished, he has a bald forehead. So we have this notion of the edge of the face. There is this border to the face, terminating up here around the hairline, around the top of the forehead. So what is the edge of the beard? My thinking on it is, consider if we just cut all of our hair off, and after a day or so, there would be a pretty definitive outline that would come out of this. And we know that edge can refer to the outside perimeter of something, just like it did to the tabernacle courtyard, or the edge of our field, the outside edge of the field. So this edge of the beard, we would know just based upon how it was growing in naturally what the beard's natural edge is for us. Of course, it varies from person to person, just like with anything else, but we have this edge to the beard, the natural outline that's going to form from it. So we're to not cause to ruin that edge, this border that's going to just form naturally without us doing anything about it. We have this edge to our beard, and if we are altering that, we are changing it, we are shaping the beard or otherwise destroying the edge in some way, we are ruining that. We are ruining the edge of our beard. So that would be a violation of the command. Now, if we were to trim the hair on our beard, that is not affecting that border on our face. So I would not think that would be an issue. But in regard to shaping the actual form of the beard, changing the edges of it, that seemingly would be an issue. So let's talk about this notion of the dead. So in Leviticus 19:28, we see the command, "And cutting up to vitality, you shall not give in your flesh." This word vitality, it is the word nephesh in the Hebrew. It's the word normally translated as soul. I choose to translate it as vitality instead. And it is frequently used in reference to the dead. So we are not to cut ourselves for the dead. We are not cutting up ourselves in reverence to the dead, apparently. This is the third command in this grouping of 4 commands. And I agree that these 4 commands are grouped together because we see the beginning of the first command says, "You shall not." So it does not start with "and," it's not a continuation. And the rest of the commands, each of them begin with "and" until finally they are closed off, and then another grouping starts in the next verses. So I agree, these 4 commands are grouped together. And we have this third command in the list that is in reference to a mourning ritual for the dead, in reference to mourning the dead. So what about the rest of the commands? Why is it that this command in the middle says that it's for the dead, but not the other ones? Why does it not start the list of commands by saying it's for the dead? Why does it not close them off by saying that it's for the dead? Instead, we just have this one that's in the middle, the third one. Now, I agree that there is a reason that these 4 commands are grouped together. There is a correlation between them. But that correlation may not be the issue of the dead. I want to give us another option that it could be. What if we said all of these 4 commands are about our bodies? We have the first command regarding our hair. We have the second one regarding our beards. And we have the third one regarding cutting our flesh. And we have the fourth one regarding putting tattooing on us. All 4 of these commands are definitively about our bodies. Only one of them says anything about the dead. So I would argue that this correlation that's presumed about the dead, that may not be the case. We very well could be looking at commands that are just about our bodies. And one of those commands being, "You shall not cause to ruin edge of your beard." So I would say we should follow this command, not just in regard to dealing with the dead, but in general. That this command does not say anything about the dead, and that we should expect to follow it. Now, it could be argued that Well, there are examples of people cutting their beard in the Torah. And this is true. Let's look at some of those examples. Let's look at the issue of the leper cleansing himself. Leviticus 14:9. He shall shave all his hair, his head and his beard, and his eyebrows, and all his hair he shall shave. So whenever the leper is cleansing himself, he is commanded to shave off his beard. But he is not just shaving off his beard. It says all his hair. He's shaving his head, he's shaving his beard, he's even shaving his eyebrows. And presumably he's shaving off all of his body hair as well, because it says all his hair. Let's also look at Numbers 8:7. This is in reference to the Levites cleansing themselves in preparation for serving at the tabernacle. They shall cause razor to cross all their flesh. So it is true that the beard is commanded to be cut in cleansing, in addition to all of the other hair. So one might say that this could be allowed, but I think in order to justify that, it would need to be according to how they were doing it, not just cutting off the beard. It would need to be cutting off all of the hair. And likely it would need to be done according to those commands anyway, only assuming those commands were actually applicable. So in regard to cutting off all of the beard, I would think that would also qualify as destroying or otherwise ruining the edge of the beard. Because once again, we have this natural edge. And if we are just cutting it all off except for the sideburns or something like that, then we have altered that. We have changed the edge. We have ruined it. So we are following this command if we are seeking to follow after the Creator. If the Torah is important to us, then we have chosen to seek after His Torah. And a lot of people prefer not to have a beard. Some people prefer to have it. A lot of people don't. And the thing is, if we were getting into the commands just because they were our preference, then what are we following? Are we following the commands because the Creator commanded them? Or are we following just the dictates of our heart because we prefer it and it just coincides with that? I think we need to be careful about this, not just in regard to beards, but in regard to other things as well. This may or may not be our preference to have a beard. Now, I am fine with it, but some people are not. I think that we should keep in mind that our preferences may not always align with a given command, but we need to remember our priorities. And in regard to certain employment issues, depending upon your job or depending upon your situation as far as that's concerned, you may feel like you cannot have a beard. In most cases in the United States, in a lot of cases, your employer is required to accommodate that. They're required, in most cases, to accommodate your observance of Shabbat, taking the seventh day of the week off. They are required to accommodate your having of a beard. They are required to accommodate your wearing of the zitziot, the tassels. They are required, in most cases, to accommodate that. And you can see this on eeoc.gov. under their religious accommodations section. It explicitly says religious dress and grooming and scheduling issues. So in most cases, your employer is going to be required to honor that. Now, there could be situations where that may not be the case. So one situation may be you're working and needing to wear some type of respirator because you're dealing with hazardous chemicals or something. Your respirator is not going to fit in most cases with a beard. So that is going to be a problem in those situations. And so some changes may need to be made as a result. But in most cases, assuming your employer fits the qualifications, they may not like it, but just like with the Sabbath, just like with the other commands, they have this requirement to honor it. And be aware that, why are we following the commands? Why is this important? It's important because the Creator wants us to do it. So keep that in mind. Thanks for watching. Feel free to check out some of my other videos about other Torah issues, and be sure to stay in touch so we can continue this discussion. Thanks for watching. Remember the commands. Shalom.